All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're taking a really deep dive into something that's at the core of who we are, the very architecture of our moral instincts. We're going to explore the blueprint that might just be hardwired into every single one of us. So here's the big question, the one that kicks this whole thing off. Are we born with a moral compass? Is that sense of right and wrong just part of our factory settings as human beings? Or is it all just software that we download from our parents, our culture, our experiences? It's a huge question, and it's the launchpad for our entire investigation today. Okay, let's break this down. The scholar Bojan Godina starts with this really stark and, frankly, kind of unsettling paradox. I mean, think about it. On one hand, we as a species have reached these incredible heights. We can literally decode our own genome. Our scientific progress is just mind-blowing. But at the exact same time, we see escalating conflict, terrible violence, and some argue our moral sensitivity is actually on the decline. How can both of those things possibly be true? Well, this paradox, it forces us to ask a really, really critical question. With all our scientific genius, are we maybe missing something fundamental about how morality itself actually works? Could there be some kind of universal moral code that we've just completely overlooked? Now, for a long, long time, the standard answer to that question has been a pretty firm no. The dominant idea, you've probably heard of it, is called cultural relativism. And it basically says that morality is purely a product of your environment. What's right in one culture might be totally wrong in another, and there are just no universal rules that apply to everybody everywhere. But, and this is where things get really interesting, Godina asks a brilliant counter-question. What if all our cultural differences are just the surface level? What if, deep down, underneath all of that, there's a universal source code for morality that all of us share, no matter where or when we were born? So, if you're going to propose an idea that big, where do you even start looking for proof? You can't just look in one place, right? You have to become a kind of historical detective, hunting for clues all across time. And that is exactly what our investigator did. The search for evidence took him to some pretty wild and unconventional places. I'm talking ancient Assyrian legal codes written on cuneiform tablets, then to the structure of biblical laws, and then he jumps thousands of years into the future to the groundbreaking work of modern psychologists like Piaget and Kohlberg. And you know what? He found something amazing. Across all these incredibly different sources, separated by thousands of years, three hidden patterns kept popping up. First, there was always a concept of equality, this idea of a fellow human. Second, there was always a concept of superiority, a reference to some higher authority, whether it's a god, a king, or a big idea. And third, a concept of inferiority, a clear line drawn between the human world and the natural world. So, by piecing all these clues together, Godina was able to build a complete hypothesis, this idea that our entire moral reality is built on a foundation of four universal, non-negotiable constants. Okay, so the very first one is the equality constant. This is our fundamental, built-in ability to look at another person and just recognize them as belonging to the same category as us. It's that deep, intuitive feeling of, hey, you are like me. Second is the superiority constant. This is our universal tendency to structure our moral world by looking up to something. When we're kids, it's our parents. Later on, it might be a leader, a set of laws, a god, or even a powerful ideal like justice. We're always orienting ourselves in relation to a higher principle. The third is the flip side, the inferiority constant. Just like we look up, we also look down to organize our world. This is our natural ability to categorize the non-human world, animals, plants, objects, as being in a fundamentally different category from us. It's how we create a unique moral space just for humanity. And finally, we get to the fourth and maybe the most crucial one of all, self-perception. I mean, think about it. You can't have a concept of equal to me, superior to me, or inferior to me unless you first have a concept of me. The self is the anchor point, the thing that makes the whole moral structure work. So you put all that together, and here it is, the whole model. These four constants, the self, the other, the above, and the below, they act like a universal grammar for morality. They are the fundamental operating system that all our diverse cultural values and norms are running on. Now, that's a powerful theory, right? But it raises a massive question. How on earth do you prove that these invisible internal rules even exist? I mean, you can't put them under a microscope. So what kind of tool do you even use to find them? Well, you need a very specialized kind of toolkit. In this case, it's a philosophical method called phenomenology. Now, I know that sounds super complicated, but stick with me. The core idea is actually pretty simple. It's a way to find the pure essence of something by stripping away all our assumptions and theories about it. Let's make this crystal clear with a super simple analogy. How would you find the essence of a chair? Okay, first you look at a chair. Then, in your mind, you imagine every possible variation of it. A stool, a throne, a beanbag, an office chair, a log. Now, for the final step, you reduce. You ask yourself, what is the one single, unchangeable quality that's still there in all of them? It's a surface for sitting. Bam! That's the essence of chairness. And this is exactly the method Godina used. But instead of imagining different chairs, he analyzed countless variations of human moral judgments from all over the world and all through history, always asking, what's the thing that never changes? What's the unchangeable structure underneath it all? And the answer he kept finding was that core architecture: equality, superiority, inferiority, and self-perception. So, after this whole journey through ancient texts, modern psychology, and some pretty deep philosophy, what's the big takeaway? What does all this actually mean for you and me? Well, the implication is, honestly, it's profound. It suggests that while our different cultures create all this amazingly diverse moral software, different rules, customs, and beliefs, we might all be running that software on the exact same fundamental moral hardware. Our expressions of morality are different, but the underlying structure could be universal. And that brings us all the way back full circle to that paradox we started with. If this is true, if we all share this deep moral core, then why is our world so often filled with conflict, with division, with misunderstanding? Now, this framework doesn't give us an easy answer to that, but it does give us a really powerful new question to ask, and a completely new way to think about what actually connects us all.